Morning, everyone. Come on in. I can see you trickling in. If you want to say hi in the chat, tell us where you're from. That's always nice. But we'll just wait a little bit to get started, just so more people can come in. Morning, Jack. You're on camera, my dear. And he's gone. That's a nice flying visit.
Little pop up from Jack there,
What?
just to get us going.
Hi, all. Hi, Andy. Hi, Sam. Hi, Philippa. Do say hello in the chat if you're coming in. We're just waiting a little bit to get started, just so we have as many people in as possible when we get going.
Numbers are still going up.
Lots of people saying hello in the chat, which is great. Okay, we will get going because there's quite a bit to get through today. So welcome to today's webinar. My name's Nicola Barrett. I'm a tech champion for social media here at the Digital Culture Network. I'm a white woman in her early 40s and I have strawberry blonde hair and a red dress on with flowers. And today's webinar is a beginner's guide to LinkedIn for arts and culture. I'll just let Katie introduce herself too.
Hello, I'm Katie. I'm also a tech champion for social media. I'm a white woman in her late 30s with mid-length red and blonde hair, and today I'm wearing a dark green shirt with moths and butterflies on it.
So Katie's my buddy today, and that means she's going to be managing the chat and also the Q&A. So we'll get going. Here we go. So before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Today's webinar is scheduled to last for an hour, and that includes the Q&A. You can use the closed captions if you need them, and thank you to our captioner, Marta, who's here today. And we also have BSL interpretation, and thank you to our interpreters, Joe and Naomi, for being here today. So if you need any of that, it should be accessible for you. This webinar is being recorded. You'll be sent it by email, but it will also be available on our website in the next 7 days. If you have any questions during the webinar, please do use the Q&A button to ask them, and say hello in the chat if you haven't already, because that's always nice to see you. If you're not familiar with us, the Digital Culture Network's funded by Arts Council England, and we exist to support the digital skills of the arts and cultural sector. Mostly we do that by one-to-one support, and you can find that on our website. Katie will pop the website link into the chat. So you just need to go to our website, click on Get in Touch, and you can speak to us. This is what we're going to be looking at today. So we've got why LinkedIn, getting set up, how LinkedIn works, best practices and tips, key takeaways, and then we'll have the Q&A. Now, we're not going to be looking at LinkedIn advertising today. If it's something that you're interested in, you can always get in touch with myself or Katie using that link that she's just put into the chat. Okay, first up, we're going to look at why you should be using LinkedIn or could be using LinkedIn. This is a progress bar at the bottom, just say, so it's going to move along as we go through today's session. So often when I ask people about their social media platforms, they forget to mention LinkedIn. It's almost seen as not a social media platform, but there are some other myths around the platform as well. So first up, that it's only for corporate jobs, that it's only for job hunting, and that you have to write really cheesy or embarrassing posts on there. So this example that I've anonymized, I had 31 meetings this weekend. I collapsed. Psych, mother didn't raise no quitter. You want to stay ahead? You have to work when your competition is unplugging. Steve Jobs didn't take the weekends off, neither do I. Work-life balance? Cool. I'll balance later after I win. I'm not talking about you making this kind of post. Please don't feel that this is something you're going to be doing. You're not even going to be interacting with people like this on there. What I'm talking about is you actually interacting with each other. So talking to people in the arts and cultural sector. So why might you choose to use LinkedIn? This platform is useful for individual artists and for cultural organisations. And one of the ways it's useful is for awareness raising and networking. So a lot of people used to use Twitter to talk about their organisations or their work. And nowadays, most people have stopped using that platform, and a lot of them have moved over to using LinkedIn. It can be a useful part of your marketing strategy for talking to other professionals from the sector. It's not that great for talking to just the general public. You're less likely to sell tickets on here than you are to do networking with others, basically. The platform has 1 billion users, so it's a pretty big platform. Throughout, I'm going to show examples from the sector. This one from Shakespeare North Playhouse is just showing them doing some awareness raising about a project. You can also use the platform to form partnerships and collaborations and find funding opportunities. And this is where it's particularly useful and unique. It's a good opportunity to find the right people, the right opportunities. So this example from Art Fund, they're doing an open call for curators, or they were 6 months ago. Generally, it's a safer and less aggressive platform. You get less hate speech, less bigotry. The reason is that it is not anonymous. You are associated with your work. People don't want their employers to see them acting badly. So it can make it a safer space than platforms like X. People tend to use it on weekdays between 8 till 6. So it has a good work-life balance. You can switch it off. You won't be getting notifications at night. Now, the average engagement rate on LinkedIn is 6.5%. So that's higher than other platforms. This chart from Buffer shows the different platforms and their engagement rates, and you can see LinkedIn sits at the top there. So engagement rate is the number of people commenting, liking, sharing your post compared to the number of followers that you have. And content tends to have a longer lifespan on here. So whereas on other platforms, you'll put it up and it'll be valid for maybe a week if you're lucky, on here it can resurface months later. LinkedIn mid this year did a tweak where they were talking about relevancy being more important than recency. And that means if a post's relevant to you, even if it's an older post, they'll try to show it to you. So this example is from Pen Mendonca, and it's about the ethnicity of historical figures on banknotes. Could be one that would resurface if it came back up in the news. Okay, so we're going to look at getting set up. This is a profile. You need a profile to be on LinkedIn. Same as Facebook, it doesn't want you using a profile as a non-person with a fake name. It wants to know who you are. You will take your profile with you to other jobs. It's a bit like an online CV and also a network of people that you've met through work. This is a page. They look quite similar, but pages are for organisations. So if you're running a page for an organisation, you need to make your profile first and then you can make your page. Please don't set up your profile as your organisation. I've seen people do this. The issue is LinkedIn might identify that it's not a real person and remove it. But also you'll never be able to transfer it over to being a page. When you have a page, for your organisation. Staff can indicate that they work there on their profile, and also it can come up on searches, including search engines. So going back to your profile, remember this is your personal profile. We're going to look at the different sections that make it up. We're going to try and whiz through this so we can get to the more exciting bit about content, okay? You need to aim to fill out all of the sections because LinkedIn's much more likely to push your profile to people if it's completed. So first up, you can add a profile picture and a banner. Make sure it's readable on mobile if you've got any text on it. So check it on your LinkedIn app on mobile. Then you can add a headline, and this appears directly below your name. It's usually a sentence summarizing your role, your expertise, what you do. And then you have an about section, which is your opportunity to tell the audience what you do in more depth and why it's important. Now, if you find writing things like this really embarrassing, then what I suggest is you imagine you're at a conference or some other work event and you've met someone really exciting who you would love to work with more, maybe form a partnership with. How do you describe what you do to them? How do you talk about your work, what you're working on at the moment? That's what you can put into this section, okay? Then you can also fill out your vocational experience, so all the different jobs you've had, your education, any licenses or certificates you've got through work, your skills, so you can choose skills that match your expertise. You can choose up to 50 of them. People can also endorse you for them and leave a comment about how good you are at them. And you can add on a link to your website. Now, there are other features I haven't mentioned. One of them is how to pronounce your name. You can have one where you can change your URL for your LinkedIn profile, so it's nice and easy to remember. So I would have a look through the different sections, but these are the kind of basics. And once you get posting, you can make use of this featured section, and it sits quite high up on your profile. Basically, you'll find a post that you like and that you want people to be looking at more, one of your posts, and you can pin it into this section. So they should be ones that are important to you. Like I've got one here that's about this webinar that's been pinned on my profile. To pin, as I've been talking about, you go to one of your posts, you click on those three dots I've circled on the right, and then you can do feature on top of profile. Make sure you keep that section up to date. Don't leave ones up there forever if they've passed. To get rid of them, click on those three dots again, and then you can click on remove from featured section. Okay, so we're going to do the same, but for the page. As with your profile, you need to fill out the different sections. Pages that have complete information get 30% more weekly views. So we're going to do a nice profile. Again, it might be your company logo if you have one. You can change the banner image. Again, check on mobile to see that it looks good on there too. And you can add in a tagline. This tells LinkedIn what you do, who you are, what you do. It's a good opportunity to use some keywords. Keywords are words that you want your account to show up for when someone does a search, for instance, a Google search. So, for example, our keywords here are digital skills, creative and culture sector, Arts Council England. Those are three that we would like to be associated with. So your keywords might relate to your art form, your location, something else about what you do. And then you have an overview section, which is your opportunity to go into more depth. So like we were talking about with the about section, you can put keywords in here. It's basically like a portfolio of who you are. Don't just dump the history of your organisation into there. Think about what you're doing now as well. Then you can change your LinkedIn URL, as I was talking about for profiles. So we've added in our organisation's name into there. so it's nice and easy to remember. You can add in any links. So there's our website. You can also have a call to action button, and that sits at the top of your page. There are some options to choose between. We've gone for visit website. And you can add in your specialities, which are like your organisation's skills. So you can add up to 20 of those. And then you can add in any locations. And then as with your profile, you can add some featured posts here as well. So you can pin important ones onto there. So they're the first thing that people see when they come to your page. Okay, so we've done the kind of setting up part. So we're on to how the platform works. So first of all, what's an algorithm? Just to go through that. A social media algorithm selects the posts users see in their feed based on what it thinks they'll engage with. So it is trying to help. So what do we know about the LinkedIn algorithm? It looks at 3 things when deciding whether to show a post to people. First up, it checks if it thinks the post is spam, a low quality or a high quality. If it thinks it's spam, which generally are posts that are inappropriate, designed to deceive the users, then it won't show it. Okay, then low quality. A low quality post might include lots of errors, lots of spelling mistakes, might have engagement baits. And by that, I mean ones where they say, comment yes if you agree, ones where you're trying to get engagement, but it doesn't really matter what quality it is, so long as they're engaging. It might be content that doesn't really relate to a professional audience. It might be content that's very obviously duplicate. You're putting it everywhere. That's low quality posts. If it thinks it's one of those, it will still show it, but not to as many people. And then the rest are the high quality ones. Now, I'm sure your posts are going to be high quality. So then it takes the post and it shows it to a small group of your connections. And it's doing this to see how it performs, to see if people engage with it. If they do, then it will expand it to a wider audience. And the wider audience are going to be your connections. We're going to come on to that in a second. So you want to connect with people on here who are from the industry or individuals whose work aligns with yours. To connect with them, go to their profile. There's a connect box in blue. You can click on that. They'll have to accept it, and it does send them a message that you can add in, so you can personalize the message. And that's quite a good way of getting people to see who you are. You can ask people at conferences or other work events to connect with you on LinkedIn too. So to explain connections, I've made you this very snazzy diagram. You are the little purple person down the bottom. Okay, so what happens? You do a post on LinkedIn and it goes out to your first degree connections. And those are the ones in pink just above you. So first degree connections means you have connected on LinkedIn. One of you has asked the other to connect and the other has accepted. Okay, so your post goes out to them first of all. LinkedIn then sees how well it's doing with this audience. So are they liking it? Are they interacting with it? Oh, I'm so sorry. I've had an absolute mad moment. There we go. So yeah, it sees how they're doing, if they're engaging with the post. If they are, then it will show it to your second degree connections. And your second degree connections are people who are connected to your first degree connections. So it's basically a friend of a friend. Now it has to be doing well to be shown to them. If it's doing well, it's being shown to them, then potentially it could be shown to your third degree connections, and they are right up the top. They're the ones in turquoise. Now these people follow your second degree connections. So they're like a friend of a friend of a friend. I hope this is making sense. Basically, the bigger your bottom network, your first degree connections, the better in terms of how content escalates to other audiences, but don't just add anyone on there. Make sure that they're relevant to you. Make sure they're working in the right field, because if you go for an irrelevant audience, it potentially will go out to all the wrong people. You don't want to see it. Okay, this is what I tried to jump to. So there is another thing on here that's called follow. So an alternative to connect can be follow. You will follow pages. If you try to interact with a page and you want to connect with it, the way to do it is to follow. It's not to connect with it. That's not an option. But also with some people, you can choose whether to follow them instead of connecting. Following is a completely one-sided relationship. It means that you're seeing their content, but they're not seeing yours. So it's going to be more beneficial to connect in most instances. Okay. Right, now, whether you're posting as your page about the organisation or as your profile about yourself, these content formats are the same. So there's lots of different ones to choose from. We're going to go through what they are. So first up, text posts. It's a classic. General advice is to make them quite long and to include relevant keywords. That's so that the algorithm understands them and shows them to the right people. I've seen advice to say that posts with 800 words or more get 26% higher engagement. Now, 800 words is a bit of an essay, so I don't expect you to do that, but I wanted to show you that basically more is more on this platform. This format's useful if you've got lots to say on a topic. I'm not going to read out this post from the Merle, but I just put it in here as a text example. And then we have image posts. These are more useful for attracting reach and engagement. Adding an image to a post increases your reactions, comments, and reposts by up to 40%. And pictures with people in are always a bit of a hit because we identify with them more as humans. It humanizes your brand. If you can put multiple images into a post, that does even better. So you can see this one from London Symphony Orchestra. They've put multiple images into this post. Now, multiple image posts have the highest engagement rate in all of the content on LinkedIn of 6.6%. So you can see them in this darker purple on the left-hand side. Multiple image posts aren't carousels, okay? Carousels on here is another name for native documents. So you see this second bar, that's native documents or carousels. And I'm going to explain them now. So these are essentially PDF documents that you can upload and which work like a slideshow. So you can see in this example, there's an arrow on the right, and you could use that to swipe through to the other slides. Very different to any other social media platform. They don't normally want you to upload a PDF as content. Carousels are one of the most engaged with types of content on LinkedIn, but here is the thing, they are really bad for accessibility. So carousels don't work well with keyboards, screen readers, and other assistive technologies. Now, if the PDF that the carousel has been based on is set up nicely for accessibility, then a screen reader can read it out potentially, but the person has to download the PDF first in order to get it to do that. And the download feature is not very obvious. You actually have to find it by going to this square bottom right and opening it out full screen, and then you can find the download feature. So it's a bit of a faff for anyone with a screen reader. Overall, I would probably steer clear of them, even though they're very popular, because they aren't accessible to all of your audience. Okay, video. LinkedIn recently introduced vertical video. They're really keen on pushing it. Landscape video doesn't get rewarded in the same way. And LinkedIn say that a video gets 5 times more engagement than static content. We're going to watch this video from the Natural History Museum. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see it better. Now, when you're using video, if you've got text in it, make sure you use captions. I mean, to be honest, having text on the video is quite useful anyway, and you can see that they've done it for theirs. The reason I say about captions is 80% of LinkedIn users scroll while on mute. So they're not listening to begin with. So we want to make sure you've got the captions in there. On to polls. These are the least used format on here, and they're actually really good in terms of reach. So polls can get 206% more reach than other posts, which is huge. They're useful for finding out what your audience wants and needs, understanding them better, having a conversation. So well worth considering including them. These are your main types of content, but there are a few others I'm just going to show you. So the first one is events. You can create events on here similar to those you make on Facebook. They can be for in-person events or for online events. But to be honest, this feature isn't that great for getting people in the door. It works really nicely online. And the best results are from LinkedIn Live events. So you can see it on the drop down, the first option, LinkedIn Live. Now this gets a significant amount more engagement than other posts. So LinkedIn say it can have 24 times the engagement. It means going live with something like an event, a panel of experts, and having the audience join you live, basically. In order to do it, you're going to need to have at least 150 followers or connections. That's the criteria. And then articles. LinkedIn really likes long form content. This article is from South Bank Centre. So you can, instead of posting out to your blog, you can put your blog post on here. You can add in images and links and pull quotes. So it can be really nice way to use it. And Google can actually index these as well, so people can find you through Google search. And then we have newsletters. So this one's from Social for Good. Newsletters are basically a series of articles on a theme or topic. If you decide you're going to make a newsletter, then you need to make sure you're doing enough content in order to be publishing it regularly. So for instance, publishing it monthly. People subscribe to it. And then the good thing is that they'll get an email to say that it's come out. They'll get a notification as well. And you'll have a post go up on your feed to say that there's a new newsletter too. Okay, so moving on to best practices and tips. Now we've talked about relevance, and this is really key on LinkedIn. You're not going to go viral on this platform. It's not designed for you to be seen by as big an audience as possible. It's designed for you to be seen by the right audience. So LinkedIn prioritizes content that's relevant to the audience, and it wants users to connect with other professionals that are working in the same field as them. It likes to talk about users as thought leaders. Now, this doesn't have to mean that you're like a CEO of a company. You can be a thought leader at the level you're at now. And it's just basically means that you're talking about the work you're doing. You're talking about your experiences. So you don't have to be really senior to make a big difference on here and to connect with people. You can do it at whatever level you're at. This example from Creative Black Country has their Director of Operations and Development, who explains why culture is important. So it's a nice example of thought leadership, but we're not going to read it because it's quite long. Okay. Consistency. So quality beats quantity when it comes to your posts as well. You don't have to make loads of content to have an impact. Now I've put in here 1 to 3 times a week. I don't want you to see 3 and panic. If you can do once a week, you would be ahead of most users on LinkedIn. Posting once a week can increase your profile views up to 4 times. So if that's a doable amount for you, then that's great. That's really good. Best practice says to post 1 to 3 times a week if you're smaller. If you have capacity, and I mean that, then you could do 3 to 5 times a week. When I say capacity, if you're in a bigger team, if you've got the resources, great, but nobody is expecting you to do 5 posts a week on here, okay? This algorithm loves consistency. It likes you posting once a week regularly over posting 4 times in a week, disappearing for 2 weeks, coming back and posting 7 times, disappearing for 4 months. It doesn't like you not knowing when you're going to be showing up, basically. The good thing is that you can schedule posts on here. So this is what it looks like when you're writing a post, and there's a little clock down the bottom next to where you click on post, where you can schedule things for later. Be careful about posting too closely together. I would say ideally post once a day, because it gives your post lots of time to find their audience. Now, this is a really important one for LinkedIn. If you're only posting and not engaging, you're missing out on one of the biggest parts of LinkedIn's tools. Engaging with others means that you can grow your network and you can find people interested in the same topics as you. So this algorithm takes into account what you're doing around posting. So if you go onto it and post and disappear, you're less valuable to it than someone who goes on, interacts with some posts, does their own, interacts with some posts, and then logs off. Okay. I've seen some recommendations about doing 15 minutes either side. That might be too long for you. Doing any kind of engagement either side will help. Commenting on posts at least once a week can increase your profile views up to 3 times. And this platform's algorithm is also quite unique in that it takes into account how constructive comments are underneath a post. So if you were to choose between 2 comments where they're nice and detailed and from other professionals working in a similar area, or 20 comments where they're all like thumbs up and love it, the 2 are going to be much more valuable to the algorithm. So we're looking at quality on this platform. You can also comment as your page. So this is what the Migration Museum's done here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit so it's easier to see. They've commented on a post from Ian Thomas about Black History Month. It's very relevant to their organisation. Remember, people are pleased to receive comments because it means their post's going to perform better. And I know it can feel really awkward commenting because you feel like, oh, I don't know what to say and I don't want it to come across weirdly. I think it gets easier the more you do it. And also know that you're actually helping the person by commenting because their post is going to be seen by more people. If you're working for an organisation, this is one of the most important takeaways for you. So one of the best ways to use LinkedIn is for your staff to have their own LinkedIn accounts that they're posting to about work at the organisation. So your page really is as strong as your employees' profiles. If you grow your own network as an individual, you're going to help to grow the organisation's network. Now, this doesn't mean that organisations can be like, well, it's up to you, off you go. We're not posting anything to the page. What you need to do is to post good content to the page so your employees have something to share. And ideally, it would be content about them. So things that highlight their achievements, their experiences, their insights. Now, the reason that personal posts do better than page posts is that profiles can receive up to 561% more interaction than page posts. So it's a huge amount. So this is definitely something to look at. I would encourage your employees to look at your company page and to share where possible and to interact. Another quite unique thing about the platform is dwell time. So this is a metric that LinkedIn uses internally. They don't let you see your dwell time, but it's basically how long users spend looking at posts. Do they watch your whole video? Do they spend several minutes reading your post? Do they click on the more button, which you can see circled up the top here on this post from Music Venue Trust? So LinkedIn identified that lots of their audience were spending time on there, but not taking any kind of action, not liking, commenting, anything, just being on the platform. And what they did was to think, well, if they're spending 3 minutes reading a post, that is a kind of engagement. So it's quite clever. You can boost your LinkedIn performance by making posts that demand more dwell time. So things like longer longer text posts, videos, anything that you think the audience are going to sit and look at. Infographics, that's another example. The golden hour is the first 90 minutes after posting. I know that's irritating, but it's not an hour, but they call it the golden hour. Now, if your post gets good engagement during this time, it signals to the algorithm that it's good quality posts. They should show it to more people. So you should consider this when you're posting. If you're posting at 6 p.m. on a Friday, it's probably not going to get any interaction in the golden hour, and it's going to be a bit of a waste of a post. If you work for an organisation, this could be the time when you ask staff to interact with it. So you could say, this really important post's gone up. Can you please engage with it? Tone of voice. I will explain this ridiculous picture. This platform's more formal than ones like Instagram. So you're talking about your work to other professionals. It's good to show some personality. You don't have to use corporate jargon and buzzwords though. The more clear and approachable your post is, the more people are likely to engage with it. So the reason I've included this silly picture is this is one that I wouldn't mind being on LinkedIn, but I probably wouldn't use one of me with a bottle of wine, for example. So it's knowing what strikes the right balance for you. Generally, I would say avoid posts about your personal life unless it relates to your work in some way. People want to get to know you, and it's good to be yourself, but think about, would you like a funder seeing that post? Would you like a partner organisation seeing it? And this is really important when posting on behalf of an organisation. You can reuse content from other platforms like video from Instagram, but think about how you're going to use it on here. So it's not just a case of putting it up and being like, buy tickets. It's better to think about what you learned from the project, what went well, maybe what went wrong. Why is it important to you? And behind the scenes and storytelling works really nicely on here. Rather than just celebrating end goals and successes, show the process. Remember, you're talking to people who are working in the same field as you, and they're interested in what you're doing. This example is from British Library. They've got a Harris hawk that they are using to try and deter the pigeons, and they give an explanation as to why. It shows their kind of thoughts behind the process, and it's also some quite nice storytelling. So this just seems like a good example of both. You can tag people in your posts on here, and this actually works really nicely for engagement and visibility. It gives the post more authority when others are tagged in it. So, and that, when I say that, I mean for the algorithm, more authority. To do it, you write the @ sign and then you put the name of the organization or the person, and you can choose from the list that will come up. This example is from Paula Ogun Hector, and she has copied in another artist and also an organization into this one, so she's tagged them. So those are the things that you can do to your post. Now, this next bit is about how people interact with it. So one key interaction are saves. Saves are how many people have bookmarked your post. When someone saves your post, they're making a decision to come back to it later. So it shows that the post has value. Saves are ranked really highly by this algorithm. And it means if someone saves your post, you're 80% more likely to show up again in their feed. So it's really useful to know. Dense information is more likely to be saved for people to come back to. Often people will use like how-to kind of posts as well that people will save. This example is just showing you how someone saves. So it's a post by Kay Aplin, who's an artist. And so you go to those three dots that we've talked about all the time, click on that, and then you can click on save. And it means you'll be able to come back to the post in the future. The sister of saves are shares. So shares are how many people reposted your post on LinkedIn. You have two options, and I've shown in this dance umbrella example. When you go to the repost button, there's repost with your thoughts, or there's just straight repost. The platform much prefers you to repost with your thoughts, and that will do better than you just doing a straight repost. This is a bit of a sticky one, links. So a lot of you will have heard that putting external links into your posts can limit your reach. Now, recently, LinkedIn have said that's not the case. It's fine for you to have a link, but the link must not be the main focus of the post. The post should stand alone without it. Now, this is a bit complicated because we've had lots of back and forth on whether it's good or bad to include links. So here's what you can do in light of this. You can test it for yourself. You can try including links and not including links and see which one does best. You could try to move over to zero-click content, which is content without links. So if there's no reason for them to actually go to your website, you could have all the info on here, then try putting it all onto here and doing away with links altogether. If they have to go to the website, for example, they have to book onto something, then you could just go ahead and use the link anyway and accept that it's going to be a smaller audience potentially. Or you could try sharing the link in the comments instead. So you do your post as normal and then you put the link into the comments. It's a common workaround that a lot of marketers do. And then this one, you could try using more than one link. So there's a theory that LinkedIn sees multiple links in a post as a resource that's more valuable to the audience. And therefore, posts with 3 or more links do better than posts with just one link. You can find some analytics on here. You can't get tons, to be honest. On your personal profile, your individual profile, you can see things like your overall performance, best performing post, demographics. Pages give you a bit more insight, and you can find things like engagement by posts and charts for your different types of engagement. You can export the data both from your profile and from your page and have a play with it. Now, if you need more data, you can always pay to have a LinkedIn premium account, but it is fairly pricey. So it's something that I would think carefully if you really need that data. And so these are the key takeaways from today. So we're going to go on to the Q&A in a second. So if you've got any questions, make sure you've popped them into there. First of all, complete your profile or page. It will really help you to have it all filled out. Connect with your network, find people purposefully that you know you want to connect with. Post once a week or up to 3 or 5 times a week, depending on your resources. Spend time commenting and engaging. It's just as useful as posting. Encourage your employees to post on there too if you're an organisation. And just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to learn more from posting than anything else. So you don't have to be corporate and bragging to be on LinkedIn. We can use it as an arts sector to interact with each other. We'll go over now to the Q&A. So Katie should come back and join me.
Hello.
Hello.
Well done, Nicola. That was excellent. Loads of great takeaways and really practical advice there.
Thank you.
We've got lots of questions in the Q&A, so thank you for everyone who's put those in. We're going to get through as many as we can. If there's any that we don't get to, then we'll send the answers to those out with the webinar recording and the slide deck, which will be sent to you in the next 7 days. So let's just scrolling back up to the top of the Q&A. Bear with me. Okay. So you have spoken about this a little bit in the presentation, but it's the most upvoted question. So I want to ask it. What do you recommend about tone of voice? Should it always be more business-like, or is it okay to make it personal or funny, maybe even a bit unprofessional in comparison with other posts? Not literally. And that's from Holly.
So it's absolutely fine for you to show personality in your tone of voice. I think it very much depends on if you're in an organisation and your organisation's branding is to be super professional at all times and you have to have this specific tone of voice, then I would probably toe the line with the business page. If you've got one where it's a little bit less formal and you can be a bit more jovial with the audience, then absolutely fine to do that. We don't have to use it in the same way that corporate blowhards do. We can be more human because we are more human as a sector. But I would always have in mind, if this was seen by, say, someone senior at your work or a funder, would you still feel comfortable about it? That's all I would say around making sure that you're not going too far the other way.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We're not robots. Let's try and remember that we're people, but it is also representing our working life. So absolutely. There's been a few questions within this theme, so hopefully this captures most of them. How would you suggest handling a variable work history or portfolio career, or if you are on short-term arts contracts, as some people are, how do you get all that together? And would you need a new profile for a new LinkedIn profile for every job?
No, so you can definitely keep the same profile. What I would say is I would put all of those into your jobs on there, your vocational experience, but I would really focus in on the about section. So with the about section, you can make it very much about what you're doing now or what you would like to be doing. You can kind of curate everything that you have to shape it around what you're working on at the moment or want to be working on. So really make use of that section. Use the vocational experience bit. Don't worry about it too much if it looks like you're switching jobs all the time because you're only on short-term contracts, because within the about section you can shape that to be more like, I have a variety of experience from across the arts because I've worked at multiple organisations. I think that's anything else. What do you think?
LinkedIn really don't like it if you try and have multiple profiles as one person. So it would actually flag you as not great. So definitely don't recommend that. If you have a portfolio career, or even if you work in different sectors, that's totally fine. Again, it reflects more the state of work now than
that's true.
Absolutely. Kind of similarly, if we can find the question. If not, we're going to go on to something else. Here we go. We have 3 venues. Can you have 3 pages stroke identities?
Yes. So what you could do, there's a couple of options here. If you've got like a overarching organization, then you can have that. And then below that, you can have sub pages. So we are actually a sub page of Arts Council England. So it's called a showcase page on here. The way that you do it, you make your overarching organisation page first, and then you can make from that the other organisational pages. They look exactly the same and work the same. It just means they'll show up on the side of the umbrella organisations page as being affiliated with it. If there's no overarching one, I probably would still make them as separate venues if they're very separate. If you have different employees at each, if you're talking about very different things. If not, if it is the same employee working for the 3 different venues, maybe I'd make it as one page and I'd just have the different locations in there. Sorry, so that was lots of different options.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would also say growing a page can be slow and kind of
Yeah.
hard. So if you have to have multiple pages, totally fine, but you are multiplying the work.
Yes,
So bear
very
that in
true.
mind.
Yeah.
Quite a popular question. Are there particular days or times to best post for getting engagement? And would this be different for a company page versus your personal profile? That's from Sarah.
So you see loads of advice on like, this is the best time to post on LinkedIn. In general, I would say if you're sticking between 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a weekday, there isn't a set best time for anyone. I wouldn't go for posting in the evening because a lot of people don't use it in the evening. A lot of people don't post on weekends. The best time will vary according to your organization, according to your personal profile. Like those two things won't be the same in terms of best time. So I wouldn't worry too much about identifying this best time. If you notice something, like I've worked at places before where I've been like, we're not putting it out after 3, we get nothing after 3, then great. For you, that means your best time is before then. But if you're not really noticing a difference, I wouldn't worry about this idea of there being a set day and a set time. Some people post on Mondays because they're like, oh, everyone's back from the weekends and they're interested in what's happening. Some people will say, well, Monday's too busy, so therefore we're going to be posting on Tuesday. It just varies, and there isn't a set in stone one to go for.
I completely agree. Someone has said here, what are the benefits of LinkedIn Premium? Is it worth the price? What question?
So, yeah, no, I prepared for this because I was like, someone's going to ask. Okay, so LinkedIn Premium costs from 20 to, well, for what you're probably would be looking to use it for, it costs from 20 to potentially £80 a month. Now, it's really good if you want to find more data. So, we were talking about data with analytics, useful for that. It's useful in terms of auto inviting people who have engaged with you to follow your content. They are looking at bringing it out for pages, which is why I say up to 80, because that's the kind of estimation on how much it's going to cost for pages. It doesn't give you that much of a boost. It's good if you're looking at it for networking or for data, but if you're looking at it to boost your posts, that isn't something that it does. In my experience of talking to people in the sector, that's quite a lot of money per month for your budgets. So it may be that it's not got enough value in order for you to take it out.
Yeah, I would agree. You can get lots of fancy things like Sales Navigator, for example. It depends on if it's going to be useful for you.
Yeah.
One that I think possibly you expected. How do hashtags work on LinkedIn? And how
Okay,
do you know the right wording for them?
Okay, so I had hashtags as a slide, and then there wasn't enough time, and I was like, I'm going to take it out and hopefully talk about it in the Q&A. Hashtags, like links, are a really murky area on here. So some people say it's essential to include them still, worthwhile. Some people will say they're detrimental. There is not a clear definitive answer. on it. The theory is that the algorithm understands enough about keywords to read them without you having hashtags. I'm in the camp, and Katie is too, that you can include a few hashtags if you want to. I would say no more than 3. I think the advice is that any more than 5, they might flag it as spam. So I would aim for 1 to 3 if you want to use them. In terms of what they are, I always recommend looking at your art form. So thinking about, if you're a music venue, then the type of music that you're talking about. Look at your location and whether you should be including that. And then look at ones that the audience you're looking for might be using. So let's say you're going after curators. We need to then think about the kind of hashtags that curators might be interacting with. So those 3 points, location, art form, and audience, are the ones that are most likely to actually get you some kind of engagement. When I say what they're interacting with, it doesn't have to be that it's hashtag curators. It might be that, like during COVID, there was this whole sort of craze of curators putting on different bits of content. And I think it was hashtag curator Wednesday, Thursday. I can't actually remember the date, but that would be one that I would imagine curators are going to be interacting with. So it would be one that you could potentially use. Don't go for hashtags that don't relate at all to anything you've posted, because that's another potential sign for spam.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. This one's from Helen. As a freelancer, is it beneficial to have a page, or is a profile sufficient?
I would go for a profile. I don't think that there's a need for you to have a page unless you plan on hiring anyone else. If you're going to be bringing other people in and becoming more of an agency, then you might want to go for a page, because then they can indicate on their profile that they're working with you. But I used to freelance and I just went off of a page, a profile rather.
Yeah, they're a bit easier to grow as well. So it's the path of least resistance, I would say.
Yeah.
Quick one from Gemma. Is changing the URL a premium option?
No, you should be able to do it on your profile and on your page. So it will be under the settings part. If you look under there, you should be able to change it.
Yeah. And possibly our last one, depending on how quick we are. It keeps asking me to get verification. What does this mean, and what do I need to do?
Okay, so this is another one I had a slide on I had to take out. So to be verified on here, you have to show official documentation. So ideally, they want you to put your passport in. It says to you all the time that you could get verified, and then people would be more likely to trust your posts. There isn't any other particular benefit to verification other than people trusting you more as being the individual you say you are. So it doesn't really boost your posts or your profile. You're absolutely fine to do it if you want to do it. There's no reason specifically not to, other than you don't want to share your passport with LinkedIn. If you decide not to do it, that's fine too. I haven't done it, Katie hasn't done it, and our profiles are working fine. So it's entirely up to you.
Fab. And I think that's probably, we've got a couple of minutes left, so that's all the Q&A, but we will answer any questions that we didn't get to. Send those answers out with the recording and any resources.
Absolutely. There's a couple of bits, if you just hang on for a couple more minutes. One thing to say, my colleague Adam has a webinar coming up. It is how to choose the right CRM. That's on the 9th of December. He's a bit of a rock star. You should definitely go to that. There are different ways to get in touch with us. One of the key ways I wanted to point out is that we do have a page on LinkedIn, and Katie will definitely pop that into the chat. We also have our website, obviously. We are on YouTube and X, and we have our podcast, which is great, and you should check that out on Spotify. And if you'd like to connect with me or Katie, please do get in touch. I've popped these up here, but Katie will also put the links into the chat. These QR codes, you can scan them with the camera on your phone and it will take you straight to our profiles. Please complete the satisfaction survey. I'll be very, very grateful. You will get that email with everything we've talked about. And thank you for coming today. I hope it's been useful. If you need any more support, please do get in touch with us. We'll leave this up for just a little bit longer in case you're still taking a photo. I know it takes me ages to get my camera out. So thanks for coming, like I say, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.